Right, guys, we are once again talking about our failed legal system that not only lets scum walk free, but also pays the criminal's widow legal fees while telling the victim's family to find the money themselves. And let's be honest, when it comes to talking about legal fees, we're not talking about chump change here either. Thousands of pounds just to get justice for your husband who would still be here if it wasn't for government incompetence and complicity, if you ask me. At the end of the day, if a government imports a terrorist, they are as guilty as the scumbag himself. They knowingly put their citizens in danger by letting them in with no checks, or even if they do check, they still let them in. And even if they do check and find something questionable about him, you know what? They still let him in, as we have seen. Because remember, guys can look about 45, but we will accept his claim that he is a 14-year-old and put him in school with a bunch of kids. Now, I don't care what anyone says, ministers are responsible for the actions of these scumbags that they let into the country. As I've said before, I don't actually blame illegal immigrants or anyone for wanting to come to the UK. The powers that be here in consecutive governments have made it the golden honeypot for them. If 99% of people were in the same boat and it was an option, I'm sure they would probably do the same. Of course, that still doesn't make it okay. The government should be more robust with this, like sending them straight back or stopping them in the channel and kicking them straight back to France. But now, to take the piss even more, we have reports that the golden honeypot will even pay out legal fees for a dead terrorist's wife, but will not pay out the legal fees of the victims' families. This shit actually fucking enrages me. I mean, let's be realistic here. The Jihadi fuckpig's wife knew what he was doing, his mindset, and of course the fact that he was a danger to life. She sat by and did absolutely nothing. Why is she not in prison as his accomplice is what I find myself asking. It even states in the report that we're going to look at she spoke to him about these things, so she knew something at least. She can sit there claiming she didn't all she likes, but I wasn't born yesterday. Obviously, I'm not saying she agreed with it or anything like that, because I don't know if she did. But I am willing to bet right now she knew about it and likely in some detail, making her at least partially guilty. But regardless of all that, she should never have got 15 grand to sit in the inquest into how her husband killed 8 people and injured 48 people with his jihadi fuckpig mates. But even the chief coroner like me thinks she is neck deep in this bullshit, as we will see. London Bridge Jihadi widow granted 15k in legal aid as victims' families denied funding. The British taxpayer has shelled out over 15 grand to the widow of the mastermind behind the 2017 London Bridge attack, while the families of victims were denied similar financial support. Zahara Rehim, the widow of Islamic State-inspired Pakistani-born husband Kiran Butt, was given £15,660 in legal aid for the inquest into the death of her husband and his 2 jihadi fuckpig accomplices. She was provided with a group of state-funded solicitors as well as a QC during the inquiry. While Riemann was given taxpayer support, the families of the victims were not afforded an automatic right to be legally represented during the inquiries, the Mirror reported. It says police shot dead all 3 jihadists at the scene of the terror attack. The newspaper explained that legal aid is often offered to the relatives of those killed by the state. Well, if you ask me, technically all of these victims were killed by the state because it was the state that let this person in. He came from Pakistan, he's not from the UK. This is thanks to government immigration policy. Simple as fucking that. James Hodder, the boyfriend of Australian nurse Kirsty Bowden, who was stabbed to death during the attack while trying to save up a victim, said, "I'm sure she needed financial aid, and quite rightly, but so did we. What's the difference?" No, mate, I don't agree with you there. She didn't need financial aid. She needs to be in handcuffs. At the end of the day, I'm sorry, she knew more than she is letting on. She was 100% a part of this, or at least party to the information. That there should make her complicit. It would if it was anyone else, I'm sure. He goes on, "I would demand a fully transparent justification for why the attackers' families are supported by the state, but none of the victims' families were given a single penny," he said. I would agree with that part 100%. Though to be honest with you, there can be no transparent justification for it. It's just taking the piss, and the public would think that also. He concluded representation at the inquest was essential. The inquest involves incredibly complex and niche areas of law. Without a trained legal team, you stand no chance of being able to scrutinise proceedings and ensure lessons can be learned. You simply can't engage with the inquest without legal support. Says, aside from funding the legal expenses of the terrorist widow, the public also spent £781,784 to represent the Metropolitan Police and the London Ambulance Service. Once again, thanks to the government letting this fuckpig in. The Ministry of Justice said bereaved families at inquests have a special status, which means the coroner can ask questions on their behalf to help ensure they get the answers they need. Yes, but that is not the same as their own dedicated fucking legal team. And if a terrorist's wife deserves it, then I'm sorry to say the victim's family certainly deserve more. Are you taking the fucking piss? It goes on down here. During the inquest, Zara Rahman claimed that she was unaware of her jihadi husband's terroristic intentions, saying we were living together, but it was almost as if we were living different lives. What a crock of bullshit. She said, I knew it was a possibility that he wanted to go to Syria, but he never told me that he hates this country and wanted to attack the country. Once again, I'm calling bullshit. In video evidence provided to the hearing, Miss Ramin is seen talking with her extremist husband about naming British airports after radical Islamists. Well, that there says to me that she 100% knew and was taking part in his bullshit. She knew what his mindset was, and it's proven there. I don't care what anyone says. She even suggested renaming a London airport after the Islamic preacher Arnem Chowdhury, whom her husband was a supporter. Ramin claimed that it was just a stupid joke. No, the stupid joke is our government allowing you to walk free, giving you 15 grand to sit there and listen to how your husband killed 8 people. That is a fucking joke if you ask me. Another video presented before the inquiry showed the couple on their honeymoon in Pakistan and her husband hailing the Islamic State. Ramin denied that she understood what Butt was saying, claiming she could not understand Arabic. That also there is a load of bollocks. I'm finding a lot of this very hard to believe. How has she not been arrested? Oh, I know, the police only arrest lockdown protesters, don't they? He goes on, at the conclusion of the hearing, the Chief Coroner for England and Wales, Mark Lookcraft QC, said that he was not convinced by her testimony. Well, no shit, Sherlock, claiming she and the other associates of Butt knew something of his extreme views. Of course they fucking did. And obviously it's just says about what happened at the London Bridge attack. We all know what happened at that now. It's fucking years old at this point. What really matters is what the actual fuck this government thinks it's doing. The justice system is a complete and utter joke. As you can tell by what I've just read you out at the end of this thing, that woman should be arrested, not given 15 grand in legal aid while the victims' families are denied funding. That is just taking the fucking piss. But it really goes to show just how against the people the government, police, and of course the justice system really are. Like I've said before, clown country.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.